These questions come from Cornelius Henderson, friend of mine. Without a European passport, what are 2 to 3 methods of a kid playing, and I'm going to add in Europe, in an academy before the age of 16?
Germany are have the most relaxed requirements when it comes to visas. They are the most American friendly, and even back in the day when I was a FIFA agent and my player that originally went to Fortuna Düsseldorf went to Bayer Leverkusen, and at the time Bayer Leverkusen had 2 Americans on their roster in Landon Donovan and Frankie Hayduk, and they were one of the first clubs in Europe really to go looking in America for talent.
Tyler Wells asks, if I am an ambitious young player who would like to try to go overseas, what point should I try to contact an agent, and what should I look for in an agent? Hey guys, welcome to a special edition of the Inside Scoop. My name is Neil Crawford. I'm your host and also the founder of Anytime Soccer Training. We have a nice one set up for you guys today. I've been working a long time on scheduling this interview, and I am so excited to bring it to you guys. I have Miro Gladovic, who is a former FIFA agent and now the founder of Soccer Family Agency, joining us today. And he's going to walk us through his experience and how that relates to the youth level to professional pathways, and then the resources that he has now created to make this information more accessible for families just like mine. Miro, welcome to the show. I hope I got it right.
You got it right, Neil.
Show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And in this first segment, we're going to jump into some questions from our parents in the Facebook group.
Well, my background is obviously in the soccer world on 3 continents. I'm from Australia, born to Croatian parents, so I have that European element to my personality. I partly grew up in Croatia, where my parents are from, and in my adult years became a soccer pro. Retired early in my mid-20s due to frustration, lack of opportunities. Ironically, I was a goalkeeper waiting for that one spot to open up, and then in just helping my my best friend at the time, who was like a brother to me, helping him cultivate professional opportunities in Europe, I managed to start promoting him, getting his reel together, lobbing it into goalkeeper coaches, scouts, agents in Europe, got him a trial in Germany. He went over there, secured a contract with Fortuna Düsseldorf. And by then I was putting so much time and effort into it, months, and it took me probably close to a year to generate that opportunity. Other players started coming up to me saying, can you do that for me? Long story short, I went out and got my accreditation, and then within 3 years was representing 20 players, was based in Germany, and with my Croatian background, branched out, started representing Croatian national team players, German national team players, and had a very successful career as an agent.
So before we jump into the Facebook group questions, if we had to do the pie chart of what your day-to-day looks like, or the day-to-day of a typical FIFA licensed agent looks like, let's describe big rocks. What are you guys doing on a day-to-day?
On the phone a lot. And that phone call breakdown would be probably 50% players, 50% reaching out to agents, to scouts, to coaches, assistant coaches, sporting directors, constantly expanding your Rolodex, so to speak. And then also when I was representing multiple players, it's just staying in touch with them, being their mentor, being their psychologist, being their love doctor, whatever's going on in their world, their financial advisor, just, uplifting them some days, talking them off a ledge some days. So, it really encapsulates a lot. Players really rely a lot from their agent in terms of just not only opening doors, but, reinforcing them, times when they're not playing well or they're not getting the right opportunities, to reassure them that this is, natural. It's part of the game. It's part of the process.
Yeah, I was laughing when you said that because I was thinking about that famous Tom Cruise movie. The name escapes me, but you know the movie.
Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, Jerry Maguire. That was you. Like, he's like, help me help you.
It's so that is one of the most accurate portrayals of, if not the most accurate portrayal. And when it came out, I'm going to age myself. When it came out, I was literally starting out with that one eccentric client. And we were just kind of figuring it all out together. And I was trying to wrap my head around his, wacky personality and, exuberance and literally telling him things like, help me help you. So great analogy.
Exactly. All right, so let's jump into the Facebook group. Guys, if you're not a member of the Anytime Soccer Training Facebook group, I encourage you to join. And let me just say this so that your listeners know, our listeners know, you guys know, we created the group in part. It does a lot of things, but for families who have serious soccer players who have legitimate questions and don't want to be totally judged. I mean, if you're crazy, you're crazy, but we don't want to be completely judged. And this is a safe space where we can ask these questions because you just don't know. And if you're afraid to ask, or you just get berated by asking the question, being told that your child is going to be the next mess, not going to be the next Messi, you never get that real valuable information. All right, so let's jump right into the first question. And this is a very topical one. It's a good one. These questions come from Cornelius Henderson, friend of mine. Without a European passport, what are 2 to 3 methods of a kid playing? And I'm going to add in Europe in an academy before the age of 16. American, they're good. How does that work? Is it any way possible?
Well, it's very complicated because without a European passport, FIFA are actually very strict on issuing international transfer clearances on players. So a player can only really register for a soccer team or academy in Europe if they are there because of non-soccer purposes. So, for example, they would have to prove that their mother or father got transferred for work and went to Germany or wherever in Europe, and they are purely there because of their parents, because you have to be 18 to transfer internationally. Now, there are other avenues you can pursue in terms of joining academies for educational purposes. I'm helping out a player at the moment who's 16 and he's playing in England, a young American kid, and he's playing club soccer in England, not at an academy, but at a very prestigious boarding school. So he's getting that experience playing in England, but he's there for his education. He's there playing for that school.
So what about situations like this famous one with Calvin Sullivan, where he is quote unquote signed with Manchester United, but he's not of age yet, and they're like, okay, we're waiting until he turns a certain age. Is that some kind of contractual thing, or is that his intent to play? Like they could either one of them could walk away from it if they wanted to.
Yeah, there's ways around it, no doubt. There's basically you hit the nail on the head. It's a letter of intent that when I turn 18, I shall play and devote my services to XY club. So yeah, there's a lot of ways around it. There's people that get around it. Whether it's the parents getting the passport is the easiest thing because then the child is eligible to get the same passport and then they can just go to that country and play soccer. But there are other ways, and a lot of players, especially when there's interest around the age of 16, 17, do commit to a team and then they just wait it out. And, they can actually go there 3-6 months ahead of their 18th birthday, get acclimatized, learn the language if they have to, and start that process earlier.
So one more follow-up question to that. Is there anything to I'm training with them, but I can't play games situation?
There's a lot of that, and there's a lot of pay-to-play type things. There's a lot of European academies and intermediaries now that are setting up this very scenario. I've heard of instances where parents are paying $50,000-$70,000 for their kids to go over and be part of a training academy with legitimate teams. So there are a lot of money making facilitators that enable your kid to go there and train, but it doesn't mean that they're on a pathway to being a pro in that team or that country.
Yes, granted, but what about I'm saying like you're 15, they want you're there, but you're not legally able to be part of the academy. Can you quote unquote train with them while they try to work things out? Is it
Absolutely.
just does it? I guess I'm saying is the line of demarcation you can't play in official sanctioned games or something.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
You can train, but you cannot play in official games. You cannot be registered in that country.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. So the next one is what are the known countries or academies who have been American friendly? And I'm saying American friendly, but I know there's some countries who have more liberal visa requirements. Is that a fair statement?
Ah, that's very accurate. That's one of the main questions you should ask because the top five leagues in Europe are England, Germany, Spain, Italy, and France. Out of those, the most visa-friendly country by far will be Germany. The most difficult would be Italy, Spain, and England. So without passports, you are not getting into those countries. It doesn't matter if Real Madrid want to sign you. Germany, I was actually based in Germany for many years when I got my FIFA license. Because of that very reason, I could actually lob in Australians into Germany that couldn't even go to England, even though we're part of the British Commonwealth. That's how strict the British are on their work permits. Germany are the most have the most relaxed requirements when it comes to visas. They are the most American friendly, and even back in the day when I was a FIFA agent, and my player that originally went to Fortuna Düsseldorf went to Bayer Leverkusen. And at the time, Bayer Leverkusen had two Americans on their roster in Landon Donovan and Frankie Hayduk. And they were one of the first clubs in Europe, really, to go looking in America for talent.
Oh, so that's very interesting and very good to know. What second or third languages would be most attractive for players to know other than English and Spanish?
Probably German, because if you're not trying to get into Germany, there's other leagues such as Switzerland, Austria, that'll be really good landing places for a young American player looking to establish themselves in Europe. I always used to say, and I still say it, the most difficult thing for a non-European, whether it's an Australian, South American, Asian, Australian, African, the most difficult thing is for a player to actually get any contract at any level in Europe. Okay, so if you can get something in the Belgian second division or the German third or fourth division, the most difficult task you've already done. Okay, because if your kid's got talent, if your player's got talent and they land anywhere in the minor leagues of Europe, they will be scouted and they will get contracts in a higher division and a better club.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I've spoken to coaches who are like, we try, and not scouts, but coaches who try to send their kids, and they're like, look, we send them to Eastern Europe as a landing spot, and then from there they move on to bigger and better places. All right. So, what second and third divisions in Europe are best for visibility in a top five European league? So, you've kind of answered that saying they're going to find you. But
Yeah.
is there is there any strategy around what league you go to?
Well, as an agent, what you're doing is you're basically, it's no different than a manager representing a young actor. You're cultivating opportunities, you're cultivating auditions. Okay. So, imagine your young actor gets a bit part in a huge movie. Okay. That's like a young player going to a fourth division in England. Okay, they're in that big movie, but they're playing a really small role. But that's how you build on it. You then take that and say, well, okay, look at the role, look at the job they did. Now we want a bigger role in a movie. No different than a player. Okay, now my player's playing in fourth division England. Now I'm going to second, third division clubs in England saying, look at this player came from the US, now is doing all these great things, has proved himself at that level or herself. And that's how you join the dots. And once you get that higher opportunity, if it doesn't come to you already, then you go even higher. That's exactly what I did with my players. My first player went to Fortuna Düsseldorf first. He actually got scouted in a practice game against Bayer Leverkusen. He then signed a contract 10 times what he was earning at Fortuna Düsseldorf. And, his career just exploded.
So it's safe to say that who you partner with, in this case, an agent, an honest broker who is going to advocate for you, is just as important as the league. And then how you perform is obviously
Yeah.
important. In other words, if you got a good agent who has relationships with these higher leagues and higher teams and stays in constant communication, and you're performing well, it doesn't matter if you're in the third or fourth division. They're going to start knocking on doors of higher leagues for you. And the clubs want to make a transfer fee anyways on you.
You're
So it's good
absolutely right.
business for them.
But here's the difficulty. If you're a non-pro, okay, and you're playing at an academy wherever you are in the world, okay, do you know the chances of an agent wanting to represent you are? There's zero. No agent will come after a player and say, well, unless they see him at a showcase or something. But if you ask, I got inundated by players all over the world wanting me to represent them. I never did. I couldn't. Okay. The problem is, this is why I established Soccer Family Agent. It takes time and effort and months of work to get those opportunities. An agent is not going to work for free unless you are some hotshot playing U16 or U18 for the national team and you are already, rocketing on that pathway. If you're someone playing ECNL or Academy or MLS Next, there is no reason for me to single you out of tens of thousands of players at your level and say, I'm going to spend the next year, I'm going to spend maybe thousands of hours, and there's going to be no guarantee that I will get you into the pros. That is why family members have to step up. And that's what I learned as an agent in Germany with a lot of players, especially from Eastern Europe and from South America. It was their parents or siblings that took that step and either continued to be their agent or once they got them into the pros, then they had agents knocking at their door saying, I want to represent you. And they bowed out and said, go for it.
See, we just met. You listen to some of my podcasts. You don't see the tear that's coming down my eye right now because I've been preaching that parents, in a reasonable, rational way, need to collect information, educate themselves, and help advocate for their child in a way that's responsible and knowledgeable and get the right balance because no one's going to do it for your child except you. Now, I know that for everyone listening hearing this, there's 100 laughing at me, telling me how crazy parents are, and I get it. But at the same time, channel a little bit of that craziness that you have for your child in a positive direction. And you hit the nail on the head. And I want to, before we go back to the podcast, to questions, I want to segue into what Soccer Family Agency does to empower parents to be able and family members to be able to do this. Because you preaching to the choir. I've been saying this all along that, and I always say, and I'm going to go back to you on this one. It's not that the parent is trying to take the lead. The parent is stepping in for the child as their representative until the child is able to completely fly on their own. And it's no different than if you sent your kid to college, you don't just say, okay, don't have to do anything, all wrapped up. You still check in, you still make sure everything is going all right. You still give them some guidance. But the problem with this industry is we know nothing. So that's why I'm hoping a resource like this will really help parents.
And yeah, just to correct you, it's Soccer Family Agent, not agency, because a lot of times parents don't know. And that's I'm glad you called it that, because a lot of time parents come to my website and they're like, oh, you're an agency. Can you represent me? You're like, no. It's not how it works. I'm going to teach you how to represent your kids. So it's Soccer Family Agent. And you hit the nail on the head with the college analogy. And one analogy that I always use, and I ask every parent, and I'll ask you, Neil, do you drive your kids to school every day and pick them up and never inquire about their academics and never keep monitoring how they're studying and whatnot?
No.
So what is the difference if your kid is consumed by wanting to play professionally? Imagine, so you're driving them to soccer practice, picking them up, not doing anything, not being proactive, driving them home and, leaving it to fate. You can't do that. It's the same thing as academics. Okay. You've got to be on top of it. If you have a kid that wants to be a lawyer and he's even graduating law school, or she, are they sitting back and saying, "Oh, I don't need to know what law firms there are out there. They're going to come find me. I don't need to know the landscape." No. And that's where parents think the biggest, I saw one of your questions, which was great. Like the biggest misconception that parents have is if their kid has talent, they will be discovered. No, absolutely not. They could be the next Messi. If they're not being proactive and placing their kids, in the eye of the storm to get hit by that lightning bolt of professional opportunity, it probably will never, not only not happen, they won't even have a chance to perform and go on a tryout somewhere for a club. It all rests upon somebody taking that talent, packaging it, knowing the landscape, and that's the other half of the battle. Most parents are oblivious to the landscape out there because it's not going to college that's going to get you in the pros. In fact, going to college is about utilizing and harnessing your soccer skill to get a free education. That's it. If you're going to college, you are not going to the pros.
So hold on though. So then what does Soccer Family Agent do what literally does it do then?
So Soccer Family Agent is an 8-module, 13-hour course that you can take at your own, convenience, and it literally empowers you to become a Jerry Maguire, a fully qualified sports agent, and it also educates you about what that soccer landscape looks like domestically, what it looks like internationally. So if you don't know anything about professional pathways or managing an athlete or what that soccer landscape looks like for a young boy or girl, Soccer Family Agent spoon feeds you everything. As part of the course, there's a module, which is now a standalone website, called the World Soccer Resource Center, which you can actually click on any of 100 countries that I've set up pages for. On the men's, 75 men's and 25 on the women's side. You can see a 5-minute video of me talking about that country, pros and cons, things about like visa eligibility, and then you've got a list of all the pro teams, semi-pro teams in that country. So it's that kind of education where at the end of it, you not only are a qualified sports agent, you know the lay of the land domestically and internationally.
So I'm gonna say two things on this. I always tease my sons when we're watching basketball or any sport. If you think those are the best 5 basketball players in the country, I got a bridge to sell you in Alaska. So I totally identify with that. Just a list of the professional teams in the professional leagues before you even do anything else would be helpful. Even information on what players have they signed would be very helpful and save you a lot of time. So I love that. We're gonna go back to the questions. We're gonna wrap this up really quickly. What are the characteristics of US players who succeeded overseas, and what can we do stateside to prepare? And that doesn't have to be, I think some of these characteristics are going to be universal, but what have you seen have been those success factors for young players who are going from a different country and being signed?
Again, I'm going to reiterate. Soccer is the most subjective sport in the world when it comes to judging talent. Okay? I say that over and over. Why? Because it's not statistically driven unless you're a striker. And even then, what level are you scoring 47 goals in? Does it even matter? Is it meaningful? Especially with European coaches and scouts, it's an eye test. Okay? How do you put a Modric into a stat? It's a style. Like soccer is the most creative sport in the world. So there is no real characteristics. You can come across a player that has one great trait that an agent or a scout or a coach in Europe says, that is what I need in my team right now. That is what I've had the most difficulty finding. I want to bring that kid over for that very one reason. Okay. So a lot of times it's not ticking all these boxes. You look at David Beckham and the whole controversy about how talented a player he was, and he was slow and he didn't do this and he had no left foot and he had all these shortcomings, but he had a cross and a dead ball that he could hit, and he was just phenomenal and made a career out of it. And you can argue he was one dimensional. I don't believe so, because when you're converting and producing that much, you're beyond that one dimension. So that's why I encourage parents all the time to never be discouraged. Even when I was promoting my players, when I was a FIFA agent, I had a 6'5" libero from Australia, and he was 17, 18 years old. And I would show his video to teams in Germany, and they would literally say, Miro, you're going to embarrass yourself if you show this video to anyone else. The kid is slow. He's lacking the technical ability. Anyway, this kid went on to play 200 plus games in the Bundesliga, 100 plus national team games for Croatia. And he was one of the fastest players in his team. So anytime you pitch a player to anybody, it's subjective. It doesn't mean that if it's a negative feedback that it's true. And that's why, as part of being an agent, you've just got to be resilient, shield that kind of negative feedback towards your player, and then just keep on going.
Absolutely. So we're wrapping this up. If my kid wants to get to Europe with the club pay, let me just read this because I make sure you type. If my kid wants to get to Europe, will the club pay any attention to him whether I play Emma? Okay, so he's talking about the level. So if my kid wants to get to Europe, will the European clubs pay any attention to whether he plays MLS Academy, Pro Academy, ECNL, or MLS Next, but not a Pro Academy? Do they look at that?
To a certain degree, yeah. But it's not going to be the be all and end all, and not going to be Europeans are going to look down their noses at anyone that's not, from their, elite sphere. So that's going to check a box where they'll say, okay, he's playing MLX or MLS Next, or he or she's playing ECNL. They may not even know what ECNL is. Again, it's going to come down to the eye test. If you have a great reel, they're going to look at that. And then if you get past that barrier, they're going to say, well, okay, bring them over for a week and we'll embed them with one of our youth teams and go from there. And that's how it generally works. European teams and every pro team in the world is recruiting 365 days a year. It's ongoing. It's a constant process. You just got to find the right person and get your player exposed to that.
Okay, so the last Facebook question, this is almost like the podcast right here. Tyler Wells asks, if I am an ambitious young player who would like to try to go overseas, what point should I try to contact an agent, and what should I look for in an agent?
Again, you got to have your ducks in a row. Without a great highlight reel, that's not going to, really get anybody's attention. Getting an agent's going to be difficult because you're unproven, and agents don't want to waste time on players that are not earning money and that they're not getting a commission from. So that's difficulty. That's difficulty number two. Again, it's difficult for a player to just promote themselves and send, video of themselves to agent, to scouts and coaches, because it's kind of like this a bias, well, if this kid's so good, why doesn't he have an agent? And again, that's why this platform is so important in bridging that gap, because it's the agent that makes the connection. And most people don't even know. Lionel Messi's father is one of his agents. Harry Kane's agent is his brother. Mbappe's agent is his mother. And people just don't know. And they don't realize how proactive family members can be in terms of getting their youth player to the next level, to the pros.
I mean, look at Christian Pulisic. His dad moved there and got a job with. So let me wrap it up here from what my takeaway, and then you give your closing thoughts. So one of the things I'm trying to push in the language that we use around parents supporting their children is, number one, obviously a healthy balance, but what I'm calling parent advocacy, not necessarily parent education. To me, parent education, and we're getting into the weeds, is like I'm learning the process, and that's very important. But parent advocacy is no. You're a whole adult. I'm going to equip you with the information you need in order to make a positive impact on your child's development. And that includes, a lot of times, pump the brakes and relax, let the professionals do their jobs. But it's also, these are gaps that only the parent or a family member can fill in. Now, you've heard the notorious stories of parents, I'll just say, overplaying their hand. So they're agents and they kind of get too involved and maybe mess some things up because they just don't know. But there's also a lot of stories behind the scenes of parents laying the foundation for those first opportunities. So my closing question would be, um, is it a situation where the parent, like I have a son right now, he's at an MLS Pro Academy. He actually has a I'm name dropping. He actually has a UK passport. Maybe I'll talk to you offline. But is it a situation where I take the course, then I go over to London to visit family and then start looking around and just making connections? And then once I'm trying to say, what are the blocking and tackling? When do I then, because you're saying that you're saying that a agent won't necessarily represent my son. He's 15 and not a proven commodity. So I need to try to help him get exposure in this story, maybe in Europe before that happens. But then what is the part in between after he maybe gets some exposure that I talk to an agent? Because I did watch a YouTube video where academy players had agents representing them,
Mhm.
but and these were youth players. This was in the UK, but I don't know if they're using agent in the same term though. Like
Right.
it's a general term. So I said a lot there, but I'm leaving not understanding, like literally. I got a 15-year-old right now. He's in America. He's at a pro academy. He's doing well. He happens to have dual citizenship. He ain't messy, but he's also good.
Yeah.
How do I how do I
Well, that's
think
what
about
Soccer
this?
Family Agent teaches you. It teaches you not only what the landscape looks like, but how to navigate it with what you have. What you have, Neil, is a son that's validated. He's at playing at an elite level. So he's elite. So that's one huge box you got ticked. The only challenge with that is there's probably tens of thousands of kids at his age at other academies, so they're all elite. They're all not going to go pro. The percentage is increased in terms of being validated, but that's not going to guarantee you going to the next step. What else do you have? A UK passport. That is a huge, huge plus. That, again, working with what you got, I would say to you, do you want to ship him off at 15? Do you have family there that, how much of a priority, if he says all he wants to do is go pro, do you have the capabilities to embed him over there to get playing? Because that will then set him on a trajectory that opens up potentially, the Premier League, Championship, other opportunities to turn pro at the age of 16, 17. And even if that trajectory doesn't lead him to the Premier League, maybe at 17, he can come back and play MLS because you've now raised the bar and said, my kids, look at this. He's played, for an academy of a Premier League team. He's 17 now. We don't know if he's going to take the next step there, but you leverage everything that you have. It's about leveraging and working with what you've got and knowing what you've got. So identifying how important a passport is, the capability of your kid going to live in another country before the age of 18, all those things, and knowing how to navigate and pivot other countries, other leagues. What are those leagues? You've got to know what they are. You've got to know what the landscape is to be able to navigate it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm taking from you. This has been great that you got to get the information. You have to start from a place of information.
Yeah.
My son has put in a lot of hard work to at least give us something to work with,
Yeah.
but you're still getting into the 1% range. Still a lot can happen. You're still keeping your feet on the ground and focusing on what you can control. But he does have a few things, like you said, that could help him. And I, right now, do not have the knowledge to do anything other than accept what's going to happen. And I completely understand as a parent, even if you did not represent him, just knowing the right questions to ask would be huge. Would you buy a house and not understand a mortgage rate, not understand, you know, uh, HOA fees? So it's kind of like the same principle,
Absolutely.
guys. So listen, tell us about your program. Introduce yourself one more time. Tell us about your program as we conclude this interview.
Soccerfamilyagent.com is the platform.
Miro, it's been so glad. I'm so happy you took your time to address the folks in the Facebook group. This has been wonderful, man. My name is Neil. I'm the founder of the program, and let's get better together.
And I'll even go one further, Neil. Anytime soccer training, people that are watching, I'll do a special discount code AST40 and get 40% off. How's that?
Okay, so we're going to put that in the show notes, number one. Number two, I didn't want to put you on the spot, but if you take this program, if you get the program, you know what I'm saying? You got a question that you want me to relay to Miro, I will get his DMs and say, look, someone's took your program, but they got this very specific question, and he'll be gracious enough to reply back and try to help you out. I'll put you on the spot, Miro. Yeah, I get 1,000 emails. But we are here to try to help people, man. So the promo code will be in the group. I'm gonna tag everybody as well. We're gonna add this to the newsletter. And if you sign up for the course and you have a specific question, you can ask me in the group, and I'll definitely send it to him, and he can answer it for you on your on his time. Guys, thank you so much, and let's get better together.
Thank you, Neil.